Today, I watched The Watchers, starring Dakota Fanning, directed by Ishana Night Shyamalan, this being her directorial debut. This is the daughter of polarizing director M. Night Shyamalan, who I happen to really enjoy, by the way. So I was very excited to see this film. This was one of my anticipated films of 2024 because it is a film by the daughter of M. Night Shyamalan. I'm a big Shyamalan fan. It seems like she has been preparing for this moment. Her father is a well-known director, and so this is her moment to shine. This is her directorial debut. This is her moment to make a masterpiece. Now, should we have had the expectation that this was going to be a masterpiece? No. This is her first film. Was it a masterpiece? No, not at all. It was a journey. It was a ride. It was a movie. Was it a good movie? No, it was not, unfortunately. Am I regretful that I saw it? No, it was entertaining. I'll give it that. Even though it's not a movie where you should probably be chuckling to yourself throughout, I definitely was. There was big grins on my face. There was chuckles happening. That's the value it had for me. It made me laugh. Probably not in a good way. I'm sure Ishana was not intending for people to laugh at the moments I laughed at, but it happened. What can I say? So let me just say, first off, that I am super grateful that we live in a world where we can create art and then we can present that art to other people to enjoy, to critique, to examine, to ponder. It's a wonderful thing, and it takes, I would say, some amount of courage and some amount of determination to put art into the world for other people to view and, again, potentially critique. I do not want Ishana Night Shyamalan to stop making films just because this one wasn't a success. I think necessarily as an artist you have to have stepping stones. You have to start somewhere. This was her beginning, okay? And I hope she learns from her mistakes in this film, and I hope she continues to get better. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of what didn't work. Firstly, okay, it starts out with voiceover exposition. The film throughout has very, very, very heavy dialogue exposition. Sometimes dialogue exposition works, sometimes it's needed, sometimes voiceover exposition is needed. In this case, it was far too present in this film. It was used far too often, and it really made it feel cheesy because there was even things that the audience probably should have been left to figure out by themselves that were just given to them via dialogue exposition, and not just once but multiple times. And especially in the beginning, there was a few of these moments where I was just like, you didn't need to tell me that like 2 or 3 times. I gathered that without you needing to tell me once. Second thing that was a big problem for me, I did not care, and this is just me being honest, this is not me trying to be mean, I just did not care about any of the characters, even the main character played by Dakota Fanning. I just didn't really care about her. The movie did not spend enough time investing in the characters, showing the characters, studying the characters. It spent far too little time getting us to like the characters, getting us invested in their story. By the end of the movie, I still felt like I don't care about any of these people. You didn't give me anything to latch onto that I was really rooting for somebody or really like, ooh, I don't like you. There just wasn't anything there. I don't know if there was too much packed into this movie. I think it just flew through a lot of exposition. It flew through a lot of setup. A lot of the setup just didn't make sense. How our main character got to where she was kind of dumb. It just didn't make a lot of sense. It was very convenient. I would say that's another maybe big descriptor of this film is there's a lot of convenient plot setups for things that happen, but those convenient plot setups just don't make sense. It's like, okay, what? Like, that's not what would happen, or that's not what someone would have done here, or it fell into maybe the stereotypical horror trope of people being stupid when, you're yelling at the screen like, whoa, what are you doing? It was kind of that vibe at times. I just don't think any of these actors were given enough to do anything interesting. And, though their acting might have been okay, the lines that they had to deliver, the roles that they had to play just were like ooh, like, wow. They were the moments that made me chuckle because, a line was delivered in a scene that was supposed to be emotional or tense, and I just chuckled because I'm like, wow, that tone just did not match with what was supposed to be going on. Um, I don't know. I could definitely see it being a movie down the line, like maybe like 3 or 4 years down the line, where I'm like, I kind of want to see that again because it was that bad. I would kind of want to watch it with somebody and just kind of make fun of it and laugh at it. Of course, that's not what any director wants to hear about their movie. So criticism number one was uh, dialogue exposition, far too much of it. The second criticism is I just didn't care about the characters. You didn't give me anything about any of the characters for me to care about them. You didn't spend enough time with them, potentially. The third criticism I would say is that it took itself a bit too seriously. I don't know if you needed more humor in there. I think it was trying to say some deep things, but it just came across as maybe not pretentious, but it just came across as falling short of what it was trying to do. There was far too little emotional investment for me to really grab hold of the potential moral of the story or the potential grave nature of the thread that was trying to be drawn through the movie. Was this movie scary? For those of you going into this movie wanting to see a horror movie, which it is billed as a horror fantasy, apparently, a horror thriller, a horror mystery. Horror is in all of the billings that I've seen, though. It really was not scary at all to me. Those are my major criticisms. Okay, what did the movie have that I thought was good? I think the concept is interesting. I think the story being based on some amount of folklore, being based in a novel, which I'm not familiar with, but being based on written material, there's an interesting story there, okay? There is an interesting plot there. And again, I believe there is something interesting to be said about the moral. I think there is something there which could work if done properly. The cinematography was fine. I thought it was a decently pretty movie. Nothing stunning, but it was pretty. The special effects I thought were fine. They worked for me. There was nothing, maybe a little toward the end where I was like, but for the most part, the special effects were fine. Creature design, because this is kind of a creature feature, and I think you get that from the trailers. The creature design I thought was really good. There's a couple scenes where the creatures are kind of revealed, and I thought the creature design was cool. I thought those were good moments. Getting into a little more spoilery territory here, okay? She does take after her father in that there is a twist at the end of this movie. It was a twist I did not see coming, so point to Ishana there. I didn't see it coming. It took me by surprise. Was I like, oh my gosh, this just made the movie so much better? Not really. It was kind of another one of those moments where I was like, oh, really? But, it was a twist. It was something I wasn't expecting, which is cool, I guess. It does seem like a direct inspiration from her father, that kind of a twist. I think there could have been more humor in this movie. Like I was saying before, it takes itself a little too seriously, and you'd have to do the humor right. But that's one thing that her father does really well in his movies, I feel like. He tells a story that has, I would say, some pretty deep themes. Take the movie Signs, for instance. But there's a lot of humor intermingled in it. I think he balances those moments of humor and gravity well in his movies. I think a lot of it boils down to dialogue writing and pacing. I think the dialogue writing needs to be sharper. I'll take that back. Not necessarily dialogue writing, just writing in general needs to be sharper, okay? Writing in the sense that I think she needs to slow down. I think she needs to slow down the story. I don't think she needs to move so quickly through it. I don't think she needs to give us such blatant exposition. Again, her father does this very well. Not to keep comparing them, but it's hard not to because they're both Shyamalans. He is her father, she is his daughter. So this is another thing that Shyamalan does really well, I think. Take, again, for instance, the movie Signs. In the beginning of the movie Signs, you have a visual exposition that is done in camera, okay? You see a faded silhouette of a cross on the wall. You see a family picture with him, his wife, and his children, and then you see him in a bed by himself. None of that exposition is spelled out to you in dialogue. That's visual exposition where you're deducing things about a character just based on what you're seeing. There needs to be a lot more of that, a lot less dialogue exposition. The dialogue needs to be sharper. The dialogue needs to be more nuanced. It seemed like The Watchers was just very brute force storytelling. It was not subtle. It was clunky. And again, that's fine. This is her first movie. You got to start somewhere, right? But yeah, a good descriptor of this movie, writing-wise, I think would be clunky, would be kind of brute force. It was not clean. It needs improvement. So like I said before, I really hope she keeps making movies. I hope that the inevitable criticisms she's going to get from this movie do not dissuade her from making more movies, because I think everyone needs to start somewhere. And I think she has potential to make something good, but there's a lot of work that has to be done. There's a lot of honing of craft. There's a lot of honing of craft of writing, of directing, of character development, of pacing. There's a lot of things that need to happen in order for her to make a much better movie. But I am excited to see what she does in the future, and I hope she continues. I would give this movie probably an 8 out of 24. It was not great, but I was entertained. So that's got to count for something. Can I recommend you see this movie in theaters? I don't know. You make that determination by yourself. You heard what I said about it. You make the determination if that's something you want to see or not.